My name is Ray, and I serve as one of the pastors here at Christ Fellowship, and I also have the honor and the privilege of serving as one of the board members at Caring for Miami. You know, my journey at Christ Fellowship started about 15 years ago. It was my sister that invited me to Christ Fellowship, and of course, the biblical teaching just grabbed me, but really what captivated my heart was the way that Christ Fellowship loved to serve the community. They called it Reach Beyond. And that's when my journey with Caring for Miami started 15 years ago. They had what was called the Farm Workers Ministry at the Redland campus. So we'd gather together every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and we'd do English classes. I didn't know anything of how to teach English, but we'd do English classes with them, and the young adults would come and they would tutor their kids, and we'd often bring out the tables and we'd have food for them to also take home. But one of the things that we specifically did was we'd have all of this clothes that were gathered from donations. We had all these donated clothes, and we'd bring them out, we'd put them on racks, we'd put them on tables. And it was at that moment that I realized that we were meeting not just a couple, we were meeting actually three needs. I realized that we were meeting a physical need. We were meeting that by the classes and also by the food and the clothing that we were providing. And we were also meeting a spiritual need, because we eventually started doing Bible studies, and we tell them, hey, if you don't have to stay, but if you want to stay, and everybody stayed for the Bible studies. It was at that moment that I also realized that we were not just meeting a physical and a spiritual need, we were actually meeting an emotional need. The moment that I saw those families go out there and be able to grab that food, and particularly grab all that clothing that was there for them, I realized that we were meeting an emotional need. See, when we think of like feeding someone, we think, oh, they're hungry. It's like we're always hungry. It's one thing to be hungry, it's another thing to be food insecure. It's another thing to say, hey, my clothes are worn and I need some new clothes. It's another thing to say, I really don't have shoes for my kid. I don't have any clothing for my kid. So we're meeting a physical, but we're also meeting a spiritual and an emotional need. You know, I love that we're looking to now launch this new mobile clothing unit that's going to do exactly what Jesus said. Jesus said the most interesting thing. He said, greater things than these you're going to do. And I'm sure the disciples said, how can we possibly do something greater than what you've done? And really, what Jesus was saying is the reach is going to go far beyond anything that I've been able to do. And with this new mobile unit, this clothing unit, we're actually going to have clothes on wheels. And we're actually going to be able to go out into all of these communities where people can't come to us. Now we can go to them, so that now we can meet this physical, emotional, and also spiritual need. You know, in Matthew 25, Jesus shares this teaching with the disciples that astonishes them. And he says, I was hungry, you didn't feed me, and I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was thirsty, you didn't give me something to drink. And the disciples are wondering, where is this story going? And Jesus pauses for a moment, and Jesus tells them, listen, let me clear it up for you. When you do those things to the least of one of these, to those that are in need in our community, Jesus says, you actually did it unto me.